much for taking the time to tune in this evening. I want to welcome you. Scott, thank you so much for showing up. First, always, I appreciate it. So good to have you here, Scott, sir. While we wait for more people to show up into the chat, let's do this. Let's first thank everybody. I like to start out by thanking everybody for taking their time. Time is a valuable thing. You work with your time in order to receive money. So spending a little bit of your valuable time with me is greatly appreciated, and I want to thank you so much for that. And yeah, while we wait for more people to show up in the chat, I'll talk about things that are going on here at Upstairs to the Right Music. Doing a little bit of cleaning. As you can see, I've rearranged things a little bit. Mr. Watson, how you doing? Welcome. Good to see you. Doing a little rearranging and cleaning up here in my work area slash recording area. And there's actually some construction that's going on the corner down the street. And it is, I have double pane glass, so I don't really hear it. And this is a stone building, so it's not so bad with the windows closed. But with the studio window here open, man, the amount of dust that's getting blown in from that construction site is just killing it. I was up here straightening up, cleaning around, and I couldn't believe the amount of dust. My poor pedals are, it looks like I, excavated them from, Tutankhamun's dig. Back in the day, they're super dusty. And I don't know what I can do about that. They're going to be at it for a while. Here, let's make some adjustments here. Yeah, that's a little bit better. You can see me a little brighter there. Let's do that. And yeah, it's just killing me. But I am straightening up. Nothing worse than yeah, it really sucks. It really sucks. And it just accumulates. I just dusted the other day, and it is everywhere. But I'm rearranging things here, just playing around, and moved my pedal board up and hardwired it in because it's pretty much well it now. That's what I use to record with. So I hardwired it into my system and ready to make other moves coming up here down the line. We shall see what the future brings for equipment for our studio as I start to slowly upgrade, getting away from using the DAW and back into something a little bit more tactile. But we'll see. I'm still hunting around for one. I haven't found one quite yet, but I will. And last week, somebody also commented in, not last week, but the last live stream. Somebody also commented in the live stream about, hey, I don't see any drum machines or anything like that. And it's funny that an off remark like that can kick off in my brain a discussion for tonight. And so whoever that anonymous, well, not so anonymous, but whoever that poster was, talking about me not having any drum machines or anything like that. First of all, before I get into tonight's subject, let me address one thing. I play the drums. I wouldn't do it live for a continuous amount of time, other than one tune maybe, well rehearsed. But in the studio, I'm okay. And up until now, I had a drum set, but for reasons that I'm going to discuss tonight, I stopped playing drums. Now, I still use drums. I have this. This is my drum machine. It's a drum pad trigger that, drum pads that you can trigger. And it's also got a little, device that it emulates a kick as well, if you want to do that. But I can hook it into my, unfortunately, ironically, DAW, and trigger any of the sounds that I have available in there. And I have, as you could well imagine, quite an extensive library. I use that to great effect on my last Asanoki album on What song was that? Green Eyed Girl. Yeah, that song. That was me using this drum pads actually. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Rogers? Welcome, sir. Welcome. Good to have you tonight. And to great effect, and I can play in time. And I found it easier to trigger pads, to use a drum pads, than it is to use drums. And one of the things that I noticed, the reason why, is I was recording another song on the last Asanoki album. I recorded part of it in Singapore and part of it here. That's why I switched from a drum kit to drum pads. But I was recording the drum track to the song Funky Good Time. And I noticed when I was playing that I was having problems with my pain in my wrist and my hand on my left side. And kind of let it go for a little while. And it started from there. I was playing quite a lot of different things at that time. So not just the drums, but keyboards and guitar and bass and all that when I was doing production work. So I was playing a lot because I was writing full time for TV commercials at that point, that moment in my life. So I was playing a lot of stuff. And it really started to show in my hands, especially when I hit 50. And I want to talk about that tonight. It stopped me from playing drums to the point now where I won't play drums again. It's just something that physically and just something that doesn't interest me. But I do like using these drum pads more than a drum machine. I used to use drum machines like the MPC 60 back in the day. And even with that, when we did it, we played it live to tape. We played drum pads live. That's how we used to do it. We didn't use sequencers. Because our heroes, like Prince and Jimmy Jam and quite a few other people, Roger Troutman, quite a few people in the R&B arena at that time in the 80s played the drum machine. So I never got into programming drum machines, honestly. I know how the MPC 60 works. I could probably get away with that because but that was not my preferred way of using drums. We played them live. And that stretched into me playing drums as well because, again, when I was growing up, we lived in a neighborhood that people converted their garages into rehearsal rooms. And I got a chance to pick up every instrument. And as I age, I have found that my playing has changed over time. So tonight's subject, the aging musician, how playing changes over time is the subject. And this is going to be for the older heads, or maybe something for the younger guys to pick up on, and women as well, to pick up on, maybe tips from my experiences as I age. And I am aging, gracefully, I hope, to continue to. And some thoughts that I had, because, the whole thought of, where's your drum machine? Well, I don't play drum machines. I use drums, or drum pads. And even with the drums, I don't do that anymore because I started to develop arthritis. And how does aging affect musicianship is really the question. So I started again, like I said, myself, and you guys can chime in the comment section here if you have any experience with what I'm talking about tonight. I started again around 50. It's interesting that I started noticing arthritis. Now, it's not all the time, but recently I started to have it. The last few days I started to have it again. And I realize it's because I have a new dog, as you know, May. And I walk her twice a day, sometimes even more. I'll take her on errands with me when I can. And the lead that I use with her is a type that has a handle to it. And I've been using my left hand. And because she's a young, strong puppy, you got to pull her, get her to heel, and do a lot of stuff like that because she gets excited. and I began to notice that pain in my hand again. So much so that it hurt so bad the other, I guess that was Friday or Saturday, Friday evening, that Saturday all day mostly, that I didn't play guitar. I didn't practice guitar. Hey, welcome, Starry Nights. Welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining into the chat tonight. And again, with the drums, like I said, I've just decided that I don't need to play drums anymore. I got, I got the drum pads. If I really want to play something, I have a library of samples. I have a library of loops, things of that nature that I can use. I'm an editor. I can make it work. And nobody would know the difference. But that is one change that came to me. That's one instrument that I stopped playing because I didn't want it to interfere with playing bass or guitar or piano. The drums never were an instrument that I took up because I loved them particularly. I like when I had a nice groove, like on Funky Good Time going, and 16 bars, shots. But honestly speaking, not my favorite. So letting it go wasn't so hard because I did not want to let go my ability to play the other instruments. So there are a lot of musicians out there like Clapton and Mark Knopfler and the late Jeff Beck, who, as they begin to age, have started to change the style of what they play. And I want to talk about that a little bit. We got Big Sean in the house talking about smoking 3 joints. Well, I'm in Amsterdam. If I walk from my doorstep down the street to the local market and local Albert Heijn and back, with all the tourists that are toking in between, I smoked about 4, 5, 6 joints actually. You don't have to pay for weed if you're a resident of Amsterdam. Believe me, it hits you, whether you want it or not. But welcome, man. Welcome to you. Now, Tommy Iommi, man, that dude, got prosthetic fingers. I'm not lying. You guys think that I'm joking. I'm telling you the truth. I live in the heart of Amsterdam. These guys, it's funny if they came out of their house one morning and they saw me sitting on their doorstep or leaning against the wall of their place smoking a joint, they'd have a holy fit. But for some reason, it's cool for them to do it in Amsterdam. So go figure. Tommy Iommi has prosthetic fingers. And I don't know if you've ever seen a close-up picture of Keith Richards' fingers, but that dude seriously looked like he got grafted hands from the Crypt Keeper. I'm not kidding. It's it looked he's bad, twisted, gnarly. So I think his fingers are permanently frozen in a C shape form, a C form. But there are physical, mental, and technical shifts that do come with age. One of the things that I think is a big waste of modern music is the fact that they have shifted from using seasoned producers and mixers, engineers, to this focal point where everybody's young. And I remind everybody some of the greatest albums. Let's look at Quincy Jones, who passed away recently. And most of like Michael Jackson, for example, Michael was in his 20s and Quincy Jones was around my age at the time they worked on those albums. And it was a seasoned experience that Quincy brought to all those productions that made the difference in terms of the overall finished product. But, Quincy wasn't playing trumpet anymore. First, he had the brain aneurysm. That'll kind of stop you from playing trumpet. You just don't want to, do that again. But that situation shifted him away from being a player, producer, writer, but just going on to being a producer. And that's generally what used to happen in the old models. Guys my age would be doing a lot of projects that required senior production work, but skills. But it is still, that was kind of a little digression, but still a point in there is that in the story of Quincy Jones, in the case of Quincy Jones' story, we can see how he shifted. That was one of the parts of his success, as he was able to go from being a trumpet player to a band leader to an arranger to a composer to a producer, and it shifted along the trajectory of his age. Johnny West, how you doing, Johnny? My girlfriend broke up with me last week, and sorry to hear about that, Johnny. I got a bad feeling where this is gonna go, but I'll read on. So I stole her wheelchair. Guess who came calling back yesterday? Welcome, Johnny. I'm so glad to have you here, man. Sense of humor is always appreciated. That's a good one. Arthritis, stiffness, loss of flexibility. A lot of cats slow down their playing. Clapton I bring up because he changed his style from blistering leads. If you notice, he plays more soulful notes now. A lot of guys change. Jeff Beck as well. They changed the way that they played as they aged. I find myself with my guitar solos, I'll throw in the blistering parts just to punctuate a section of the music that where I think it's appropriate. But I'm more looking for beautiful notes and melody and sustain and things like that. And so I never was a fast player. I'm like B.B. King used to say, there's guys who can play faster than me, and all I eat is grapes and they're sour. To paraphrase him, yeah, I kind of used to have sour grapes about the fact that I never had the blistering speed of some of those guys, like a Joe Satriani, but I made up for Prince, for example. Prince was pretty nimble fingered. I never got to his dexterity either, but I think that what I made up for was in the beauty of my compositions when I wrote leads. So you're welcome. I'm going to subscribe. Thank you, Johnny, man. You are so welcome, and you keep bringing. If you got any more, type them in. I'd love to read them off. That was a good one. And welcome to the club, man. Welcome. We're here twice a week, Sunday nights and on Wednesdays. Same bad time, same bad channel. Mike Watson, I'm a big fan of Robin Tower. Yep, he just turned 80 and is still better than ever. Yeah. Yeah, and with Robin, you can see there was a change there too. So, as you age, you change because of arthritis that leads to a dexterity and speed decline, which also with your endurance and your stamina being not being there, especially if you're a drummer. Back, neck, and shoulder strain. Again, another reason why I built that parts caster is as much as I love Les Pauls and SGs, although I've had some light SGs, but the balance just is all for me. It's just too heavy for me. Even, my perfect weight on a Les Paul is approximately 8.2, and I've been lucky to get some damn well near and on that number. But even that I begin to find to be too heavy. You don't really want to go that much lighter on that on a Les Paul, in my opinion, because then you start getting into SG problems. So your playing and musical approach changes. Now on the keyboard, my right hand actually has become much more fluid. And I just recorded a track where I had to do some piano lines, and I'm going to add some overdubs to it with some glisses and things like that. I just have found that where I lack the speed in my left hand for guitar playing, I have actually gotten a little bit better with my right. So there are some trade-offs there. But endurance and stamina, dexterity and speed decline are signs of aging. The back, neck, and shoulder strain, heavy guitars, and standing for long gigs can wear it. I begin Robin Tower, 80 years old, you know. But I noticed there's a lot of musicians that I also seen of that era that are now performing sitting down, like Phil Collins, for example. So there's that. Johnny West, are left-handed guitarists more creative? No. Prince was a right-handed guitar player, and I would argue that he was as creative, or maybe even more so than Jimi Hendrix, who was left-handed. You know, I know a guy who was left-handed, but he taught himself to play right-handed. So you know, that's not a big variable there. BB would ask shredders if they got paid by the note. Yeah, I read that one too. They had to say then he'd say he got paid for the notes that he didn't play. Yeah, you know, and it benefited him later on in life because he didn't have to continue to, you know, shred. He as a matter of fact, he got those notes and those some of those blue notes just got even more tastier as he got older. Natty Two Hats in the house. How you doing? Welcome, sir. So glad to have you here in live tonight as always. Cheers to you. Aging musicians often shift from technical flash to more expressive melodic playing. I've noticed that Brian May, if you catch him when he plays recently live, or whoever he has as the lead singer of the year with Queen, but his playing has changed. You know, he was always melodic, but he's slowed down. He can still play his parts, you know, the things he has to play because he's played them a million times. But there's a grace to them now. You know, it's not in a hurry. It's not even imperceptible. You don't have to be a musician to hear that. And again, a kind of sweetness comes as you get older. You know, it's just one of those things. Michael Watson, I started playing at 9. I had a stroke when I was 43, and I had to learn all over again. That's been 21 years ago. And I fought back to be better than before. Cheers to you on that story, Michael. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, it also tells you a lot about, you know, who you are. You know, you're determined to not let that stop you from getting back to where you want to be, and then you surpass that. Health issues, true, again, like I said, deters. Like I said, Phil Collins, unfortunately, and his health issues have affected him greatly. And then, so as an aging musician, because of this though, like I said, there's a sweetness that you develop, better note choice and dynamics. Learning to say more with less is what my old guitar teacher would say to me, High Tide Harris. Say more with less is what he used to say to me. Play your leads like you're singing, and say more with less. And that's actually helped me over time. I always keep that in the back of my mind. And reliance on gear adjustments, using compression, lighter string gauges, and ergonomic guitars. Lighter string gauges is funny because Love from India, well, awesome. Vanish So welcome to have you here. So good to have you here. Welcome, welcome. Did I hear that Elton John lost his sight recently? Yeah, I heard something like that too. That you know, his eyes are going out on him. Now, frankly speaking, that never stopped Stevie Wonder. So you got to wonder about that. Hey, play on words. Stevie Ray Vaughan, even when he was younger, because of the cuts and and bandages and super glue and stuff that he used with those 13s that he was playing, he switched down to 11s eventually. He changed his string gauge, and he was just as happy. As a matter of fact, even more so. He could do more, you know. And ergonomic guitars, like I said, I like the contours and shape of the Stratocaster. That was the idea behind it, and boy, did they nail it. Again, because they talk to musicians, but I digress. Wish they would do that today. Really, seriously. But it, not in corporate speak either, it really is a body shape that I like, and I said, well, let me stick a couple of humbuckers in this and go to town. If you guys haven't seen it, by the way, it's a good time to take a little break and mention it. I released a video today, the third and final part of my Parts Caster journey, where I talk about the treble bleed circuit that I put in, and actually do a demonstration of that so you can hear how that worked out. And I'm super, super, super duper duper pleased with that. I took the guitar down to Fern because when I put the neck on, I get really, Fern said to me when I got down there, he said, dude, it's not rocket science. And he's right, it's not. But, that's my guitar, and I wanted to have him take a second look at. Plus, I wanted to have him check out that bleed circuit that he gave me, and he thought it sounded great, and he's got a nicer amp than I do. Actually, he's got an '80s Super Course, and it sounded fantastic through that thing. And yeah, so that video is out. So if you haven't checked it out, I would appreciate it if you would do so. Take a look at it, and you can see how that worked out. That's the final chapter in that series. They actually worked out. I wanted to do 3 parts, and I was able to eke out 3 parts that were significant in terms of the content. It was just clickbait or rehashing. And check it out. I would appreciate all you guys to go and check that out. Put it out today, and it came out great, actually. Hearing loss and ear fatigue. I want to talk about that a little bit here. Guys, I cannot emphasize to you how much in the big studios, when I worked in them, that I would put beeswax in my ears. And I learned that trick. I wasn't doing the session. When I was doing the session, believe me, we didn't have things like super pumped up during my sessions. But when I had to do second work, especially when I worked at Yab Young working for Babyface, and places like that, I put beeswax in my ear. I kept it in my car, a little tin, take a little bit, stick it in my ears, tap it in with my earlobes, and go to work. If I knew I was going to be in the studios, I could still hear people talking to me, but it cut down on a lot of that high end and a lot of low end as well. I was protecting my ears. My father, retired now, was an airline captain. He started out as a flight engineer, and the flight engineer's job is to go around the plane and do a safety check the engines and check the landing struts, check all those things. And when you're out there on the tarmac like that, day after day after day, and you're listening to those Boeing engines going off right in front of your face, you got to protect your ears. My father always did that. My father, hearing is not great. It's not great now, but he's in his 80s. It's not great. However, I can say honestly that he's not deaf. And I can say that I protected my ears most of all because I knew that I wanted to be able to record and hear and mix. More importantly, the things that I was working on and others for a long time. And so, protection of ears is something that is super important. If you guys are young out there and you're starting out, you're listening to hip hop music and you're listening in cars with just blasting, don't do that. You're really hurting your ears during live gigs. All the live gigs that I've posted on YouTube, you can see me playing live with my band. I should put up more clips. I got more clips somewhere. I got to put those up. I'm always wearing earplugs. Because my drummer, he had a heavy foot, which is what I wanted. I love a drummer with a heavy foot. But boy, you pay for it. Thank you, Scott, for putting that there. Yeah, guys, please hit that link. Take a look at that. I would greatly appreciate that so much. I wish I had phone plugs from every concert I went to in my 20s. Yeah. Interesting enough, I didn't wear any kind of ear protection when I went to concerts. I didn't go to a lot of them, to be honest with you. I went to significant ones, I realize now, because I lived in LA, so I got to see some pretty cool shit. But groups, bands. But that, you'd walk out of I remember walking out of the Forum after somebody's concert, and you'd have that tinnitus, that ringing in your ear, that, and it just, and it lasts. And I would say to myself, man, I should have wore earplugs. That happened every time. I always would. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was on a date and I didn't want the girl to see or something. Why has this guy got these plugs in his ears? Am I that irritating? Alex, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the live chat. How you doing, sir? Mad Two Hats, too many nights in front of walls of speakers for me. Yeah. I never did any PA work or anything like that. I was always in the studios. And that was worse, man. That was worse because brothers, oh God, especially when rap came in and some R&B. I mean, tune 808s, stuff like that. It just in high. It just really you had to protect your ears. And I'm glad I did. You cool, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. You're cool yourself for mentioning that to me. The impact of loud playing day after decades cannot be underestimated. And hearing changes your tone preference as well. Like I said, some guys swear by some tones. They think it sounds great. And you could sit back and say, wow, that guy can hear nothing above 7K. He just tone deaf. And you start doing EQ tweaks to compensate brighter or versus darker tones, and your mixes end up sounding, weird because they're either too dark or too bright. And that's a funny story. Speaking of that, you don't have to be, Prince, when he recorded the Ballad of Dorothy Parker, he recorded it on a brand new console that his engineer, Dr. Oh gosh, I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, she had just set up, but there was a problem with the compressor. And it had taken all the highs out of that. And he had just gone ahead and you couldn't stop him. She couldn't say, could you wait an hour while I fix this, track down this problem? You're not going to say that to Prince when he's grooving. Cut the Ballad of Dorothy Parker, came out, mixed it, and when they were done, he turns to her and he says, yeah, that sounds great, but it's a little dull, isn't it? But he mixed the dullness. He worked, and that's the version that you hear on the album. That's why it sounds the way that it sounds. So there is that. But EQ tweaks to compensate because, your ears are not so great anymore. In the 90s, I worked in an AV rental company. We did concert PA setups for live events. Nobody in the industry in the 90s wore ear protection. Yeah, I believe that. I was the only cat, and again, the only reason I picked up and was hip to that was because of my dad. because of his job and him always telling me and my brother, especially me, when he saw, okay, if you're going to be in those studios, watch your ears. And he was right, because I sit here, 58 years old, and I've got fantastic hearing. I had it tested 2 years ago on a trip. No, maybe a little longer than that. But anyway, last time I had it tested, within the last 3 years or so, I could hear fantastically for my age, above average, and I have him to thank for that. But you can hear in some guys' mixes, you're like, or some of their tone preferences, you're like, that doesn't sound great. That's why I say, even now, because of my years, if I hear something off, it's like nails to a chalkboard. Now, there are actionable solutions that you can use for overcoming age-related challenges. Certainly, using finger economy, less movement, and being more efficient. Like I said, just say less. Learn to say less. But be more expressive, I guess, is another way of putting what High Tide was saying. Incorporate more slides, open string, and legato to reduce strain. Prince used legato to great, benefits in his solos. Listen to the guitar solo. The whole song is a guitar solo called Venus de Milo. Listen to that. Listen to that guitar solo. And tell me if you've heard anything prettier than that. It's off the Parade album. And a lot of legato to, in that, and but I use it as well to great effect. Alternative tunings make things easier. Drop D actually makes playing a little bit easier. And Open G also. I've used Open G. I've used Open G on a track, again, getting back to that last Asanoki album. I can't think of it, the guitar one, the acoustic guitar track. God, it's late. I can't remember the titles of my own songs. We're all passing time. I used Open G tuning in that with, anyway, with the capo, I think, something like that. I did that. It was a Joni Mitchell kind of thing that inspired me. Adjusting your pick grip and attack for smoother playing. I've adjusted the way I play, with the Strat. I noticed even more so than the other guitars, that I play up the neck a bit too. I used to stick around, the bridge and in the middle position on the pickups. Between the pickups, but I'm starting to play further up the neck too, because I noticed that when I was doing the strumming that I was doing, and I do it now subconsciously, because there's a certain tone when you rake the strings that far up on the neck that you can get, and I just do it now, and I pick that up. So, and I find that easier also rhythmically to play as well. It's kind of a bouncy kind of thing. So I adjusted, not just my strumming hand, how I use it. Scott says, George Martin was completely deaf when working with the Beatles, but apparently he could think around it. I did not know that. I thought I knew a lot of music stories, but that is one that I did not know. Kudos to Scott tonight for that one. That's interesting. Interesting. So, lighter guitars also are for the comfort things that you can do as you get older. That parts caster is 7.7. No, 7.8. Is that one that's 7.8? No, that's the Affinity. That one is 7.9. Relatively on the heavy side for a Strat, but still not super heavy. Lighter than a Les Paul for sure. And so I find that comfortable. You can also get a chambered body guitar, or you can start taking up semi-hollow guitars. I have had several semi-hollow guitars, as you guys know, over the years, not just here, but also in Singapore when I started the channel. And I have yet to find a semi-acoustic guitar, like a 175 or 335 or 325, that I can vibe with. I don't know why it is. You would think that that would be something that a guy like me would take to. 335, 355, those are too big for me. A 175 would be better. But I just haven't found one interesting enough. And I was looking at a 175 just the other day. Fretboard preference changes. Jumbo frets. Some people actually start getting scalloped fretboards. They think that that helps them play a little bit better. Not for me, not my cup of tea at all. But it is an option. Jumbo frets. I gotta be frank with you, I don't like jumbo frets at all. I barely hate the medium frets that are actually, in my opinion, jumbo frets. It's just like clothes sizes. You know, people got fatter, so what used to be small became an extra small. You know, what used to be a jumbo fret somehow became medium jumbos. You know, still not to my cup of tea. I have a chambered Strat, and it's super light, Michael says. Yeah, you know, that's a way to go too. That's a way to go too. Chambered Telecaster is a way to go that I've often considered. But yeah, there's a couple of things there. But for comfort, these are the ones that I could think of right now. Maybe you guys have some other. Lighter guitars, shorter scale lengths, string gauge considerations, and fretboard preferences. I don't have a compressor on my board. The only effects pedal that I have on my board, modulation effects, is this Chorus. And even that I use in an odd way. It's just to sort of I actually use it to widen the tone, but I don't give it any kind of depth in terms of shimmer or anything like that. But you can use a compressor. A lot of guys use compressors in order to increase their sustain and things like that, to even out notes. Scott says, Mike, I recommend trying an older Epiphone Wildcat. I have a Wildcat Royale, half larger than the Les Paul body chamber mahogany. Yeah, I've looked at some of those older Wildcats. And if you guys remember, I had a Wildcat in, the newer one, the newer Wildcat I had in there for a minute, and tried that out. An older one, yeah, that may be a possibility. I will look at that because I know now that I'm happy with that parts caster. I gotta be frank with you guys, it really is all the guitar I need, but I would like to have a semi-acoustic guitar. I would like to have one because I think that would be great too. But again, like I haven't found one that I've had Gibsons, I've had Harley Benz, I've had Epiphones, and nothing that really spoke to me yet. Interesting, it's weird. Now again, you might have to make adjustments to your EQ and gain setting for your aging years, but be mindful of your audience. The Uptown is not the same. Here's a review I did of my Wildcat. Now, let me click on that so that I can read that later. Thank you, Scott. Scott Bogflip presents. Hey guys, check out that link. You guys gotta go check out this link. Man, here we go. Let me give this a like right now. and a comment. I already know it's awesome. Yeah, here we go. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, I know that. I'm actually kind of familiar with that concept. So yeah, all right. I will keep an eye out for that. I might find if I can find one in Japan. As you know, I source all my guitars in Japan, but maybe I'll find one here on the dreaded Mark Plot. Maybe we'll see. It's an option. Actually, it's an option. Frederick Rogers, Mike, when you are going out with your dog, always wear gloves. Heat is great for arthritis. Yeah, I do. The only thing is the with my older dog I use a different leash, but with her I use that, and the gloves are kind of bulky. And I used to have a slick pair of nice leather gloves that I wore all the time that had nice fur lining in the inside, and those just got completely destroyed in the heat in Singapore. I'm super bummed about that. Those were my favorite gloves. Haven't found anything like that yet. I had to go to Japan to find those, and yeah, one of these days. But yeah, I know. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So, considering modeling units to replace heavy amps too. Everybody's doing that anyway. I won't even go that way. Like I said, I like my analog setup here. Uh, Wired into now, I did some recording with it, and I use a wireless system, which actually, believe it or not, I've used, of course, quarter-inch cable to go in to recording, and I've used the wireless system, and I actually like the way the wireless system sounds. As I seem to recall, all of the AC/DC albums were recorded in the studio using wireless systems. They didn't plug into the heads in the studio. They used a wireless system. Well, of course, far more sophisticated than this, although they were probably killed to have something even like this back in the day. But it imparts a tone to it as well, and still no noise. So, you know, the Laney's now sits here under my table. And because I just found myself not using it. I used it when I demo, but when I'm practicing player, or when I went here, I'm sitting here. I'm not in the living room with the Laney. So, in a way, I kind of de facto replaced the heavy amp. It was heavy, but it was still just a 1x12. So the wisdom of an aging musician is that you can play better, as it was attested to in some of the things said here, despite losing technical ability at one point. And you find yourself playing with feel versus playing with speed. That quote that was posted there from B.B. King is quite apropos, I think, in that regard. There was a maturity in the phrasing, even with his mature phrasing. And you actually start to find yourself less obsessed with gear and more focused on making music. My Uncle Carlton, who's an old school producer, musician, he records on is it a Fostex or a TX or whatever, 8-track. And his equipment is not very sophisticated at all, but I'll tell you, he's got a lot of stuff, studio gear that he's accumulated over time, like serious, pieces, but he doesn't use them. Lexicon, I think I saw him in one of his racks, stuff like that. But his recordings are fantastic, and he stopped worrying about that gear. He doesn't use it; it's gathering dust. He's more focused on making music, and I can't think of anybody that I know directly in my life that's a testimony to that more than him. Mr. Rogers says, Mike, I'm sorry, Mr. Watson, exactly. Forget the speed and you will be better for it. Yeah, I want it. There's sometimes when I hear a line like, and I don't have the technical ability, even though, like I said, I'm not a slouching player. I'm not putting myself down, but I'll admit to my limitations, and I don't have that kind of speed. I can do it in short bursts. Listen to the guitar solo on the Blue Door, and at the end, and you can hear, the speed that's my top speed. But I also made sure that I also played sweetly as well. It's one of my favorite guitar solos that I ever did. That one and the solo I did on what is that? Down the Rabbit Hole on the first Asinoki album. Those are my two favorite guitar solos. And as far as acoustic guitar solos, my guitar solo on my song The Lion, you can hear that on Spotify. Just look up Mike McWilliams and The Lion, and you can listen to that acoustic track that I did. I recorded that. I recorded that when I first set up my studio in Singapore. Just got my drums in, got everything wired up, and that was the first or second track that I recorded in that studio. I was tracking commercials and working on an album at the same time, and it just came out lovely. So you can hear that, guys. Check it out. But those are my three favorite guitar solos, and there's not a lot of speed in that, a lot of technical stuff, but beauty is what I was thinking, and it makes you a better songwriter, I think, in a lot of ways. The older I get, Mike Watson says, the more soulful my playing gets. Yeah, because you're not trying to impress, you're listening. I listen to heavy, fast bands like Revocation, and I can't play anything like man. And I'll listen to it, but I can't play it. I love Metallica, but I can't play that. I can't. I can't. I can play AC/DC though. But only to a certain extent. I think that's the only band in terms of rhythm guitar and things like that I can comp and keep up and no problem. But again, that's kind of a different thing. So there's that. You have to learn to embrace the changes that occur in life. You try to fight against that. All them celebrities taking that Ozempic or whatever that drug that they're taking, and they look like walking fucking corpses. Excuse my French. You guys know it's true. They look terrible, and they convince themselves because they're in an echo chamber that they look great. And they all look terrible to the rest of us. And they haven't embraced the changes of aging, dyeing their hair and plastic surgery and things like that. If you embrace the changes, then you'll find your life a lot easier. You work with what you got. You say, I'm good. See, it comes back, and the philosophy of I'm good works outside of the studio as well. You say, I'm good, I'll work with what I got. I'll work out more. I'll eat better. Take better care of my skin. I'll do this, I'll do that. Same thing with your playing, Same thing with your playing. If you embrace the changes, okay, I can't play as fast as I used to, but I can play more soulful. Maybe I shot out my ears, but I can make adjustments so that it works. I can learn how to work with my range of hearing now that other people can appreciate as well. And a lot of adjustments that you make. In life, we make adjustments. Life throws us curveballs. I get thrown every time I think I'm a little bit ahead. Life throws me a curveball, just like the rest of you, and you have to adjust to those changes, or you fail. And you don't want to fail with your music, especially if it's a part of you, especially like me. So I learned to work around those limitations. I don't play drums anymore. You know. Do I miss it? No, because like I said, it wasn't a thing that worked for me. But I've got, like I said, you know, a viable substitute with these drum pads here. That when I want to lay something down, I just set the click track to double time, because that's how you should record drums. Learned that from Prince. Set your click track to double time and go for it. And that works. But that's the extent of my drumming. And I won't sit down to a drum kit. I won't even play around with it because it hurts. The day, not the same day. When you get older, you'll notice something too. You don't ache the day after, it's the day after that you ache. It's 2 days later that you feel the pain. And then you forgot, you're like, why does my hand hurt? Oh yeah, that's right, because 2 days ago I was playing drums. That's the truth. And if you're older, you know that's the truth. Trust me, you will find that out to be the truth. So embrace the changes and keep playing. Embrace the changes. I've enjoyed the hell out of getting older. Yeah, some people can't though, Michael. Some people can't. I'm actually enjoying it too, because I'll tell you the truth. When I'm walking down the street and I'm dressed, nicely, and I got my dog with me, there is no shortage of women who don't stop and appreciate or look or stare. They don't shun me. I don't feel like the unwashed. I'm sure most of them have daddy issues, but that's a separate issue for another channel, for another time. But it's the truth. But you just, you're okay, I'm good. I got my gray hair going. I could dye it. I used to dye it. I know, like, that's funny, but it's true though, man. I know you guys think it's funny, but I find it funny because I don't care. You know. But it's true though. You embrace it, and I got gray hair. I used to dye it, but I stopped doing that, and I don't care about those things. I just deal with it. The thing that gets me as you get older is, I guess it's my British blood or something, but start growing hair in places you didn't before and losing it in others. Like, I never had to have my ears waxed before 50. It wasn't a problem. But now I have to have my ears waxed once a month. If not, I wouldn't have needed that earwax anymore. I just let the hair grow. Believe me, it'll cut down on the construction sound completely, even when I'm outside next to the building. So you have to adjust. You have to embrace. You have to embrace. Lighter guitars, finger stretchings, exercises, warm up. Warm up. There's hand exercises, yoga exercises that you can learn that are just specifically for warming up your hands. Finger stretching is a good thing to do before you play. Warm them up, and then a warm up exercise. The Eagles song "Life in the Fast Lane." Boy, my tongue is getting thick. Ran out of water. Life in the Fast Lane was just a warm up exercise that they were like, hey, what are you playing? Well, it's just my warm up, Get a good warm up exercise, like the crab walk or something like that you can do on the guitar in order to keep your dexterity going. Some things like that you can do. Embrace the changes. I like this. Yes, sir. I've been told you don't get the face you deserve until you reach 50. Living a hard life certainly shows after a while. It does, man. It does. There's some cats, I look at them and I'm like, man, And then there's some older folks, you could tell they were wealthy their whole life. They had it easy, and it's in their face as well. But hard life does show up. Yoga is a great thing. Yeah, I just had a yoga class on Monday. That's just this Monday last. not tomorrow. I can't go, but I enjoy yoga a lot. And like I said, it's one of the things as I've gotten older that I have great balance. I have great form. My knees work. My hips work. I don't have any of those problems because I took care when I was younger. Man, two hats. Hot chicks dig the older guys for sure. Yeah, man, but I remind you, most of them have daddy issues. If you really want to hook up with them, find out what cologne their father wore, and then you're in there. It's just a little tip. You can use it. Not that I have, but it is a fact. You know, and it's really how you embrace things. I'm just cracking you up tonight, huh, Michael? I'm just telling you the truth. You think I'm kidding about this stuff? I live in Amsterdam. I kid you not. The most beautiful women you will ever see in your life at one point or another, whether a model or an actress or something like that, floats through Amsterdam. And you will see them on a day to the point where, you know, you're like, wow, she's really pretty. Whereas if you had saw or seen this woman in any other situation, you would just sat there like, oh my gosh. But now it's like, oh yeah, she was pretty. Oh, she was pretty. You know, most beautiful women and that you will ever see, and that's because they come from all over. It's not just the Dutch, you know, women. We're talking about women from all over the world, and it's one of the pleasures of living here. Actually, to tell you the truth, is to see that, you know. But as I get older, I view it I never had kids, so I don't have the kind of daddy issues that men have, like, oh, but actually I wouldn't know because I never have, I just look at it with a kind of jaded, like if I was younger and I saw you approaching, I would turn around and go the other way. That's kind of the thinking I have with these chicks these days. I shouldn't say that, these young ladies these days, because gosh, it's a nightmare. I really feel sorry for younger guys. They must be having a hard time. Some of the women, I'm not saying that guys are a catch too. I've seen a lot of rough guys, but still, I just bought I don't know how I got on that tangent, but it's just living here. I just bought the first skateboard I've bought for 25 years. I'm going to embrace the asphalt. Wear a helmet and knee pads, sir, please, and double up on your life insurance, and you'll be all right. Yeah, you get older, and one of the things embracing older is that you don't care about things anymore. The things that enticed you or lured you in when you were younger. And I can, not just with the opposite sex, but with guitars and gear, see how I brought it back to it? It's the same thing as well. Again, you start to embrace the less is more kind of thing. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. I think that we've covered that greatly. I appreciate everybody who showed up in here tonight and covered this topic with me, discussed this with me, shared your thoughts on the topic. Again, just released a regular content video today. Scott has been kind enough to post that up there. Scott, I'm going to take a look at Scott Bogfoot Presents right here. Right after I sign off, I'm going to look at this, check it out, and take a look at this guitar you're talking about. I'm fascinated. You guys check it out as well. Support Scott as much as you support me. Support Scott. Go over and check a look at his video. And take a look at my video. Please write down in the comment section when you do watch it, even if it's just, hey, great video or something like. You don't have to give a dissertation if you don't feel like it. But it does help with the YouTube algorithm to see that kind of organic response as well, even more so than the like button. I noticed that for every view I get 10%. If I get 100 views, I get 10 likes. But if I get a lot of comments, that shoots it up. So leave a comment in that video. If you guys go over, check that video out. If you already have and you've forgotten to leave a comment, I would appreciate that so much. I have the most cover songs on any YouTube channel, but they are all bad. I'm sure they're not bad, so I'm really, I'm gonna look at this. You gotta know, I'm dying to look at this. So I'm gonna say goodnight to you guys, and I will talk to you live on Wednesday. You take care. Oyasumi Nasai, Ohio gozaimasu, depending upon where you are in the world. Hoodie, middle dog, depending upon where you are. You guys take care. See ya. Bye.